welcome to our discussion on 7 signs of a solid relationship, 7 signs of a solid marriage, whichever one applies to you, with your relationship expert, me. I'm Dawn Wiggins. I'm co-hosted with Dagmar Gattell.
Hello.
Expert extraordinaire. We're so happy to be here today to be able to talk to you about having a successful relationship. And I'm going to allow Dagmar to briefly introduce herself.
Yeah, hello everybody. My background is search engine optimization, but I'm really here with Dawn because I believe we all have a gift to share, and it's important that the world hears our message. And Dawn is a friend of mine. She's also a client of mine, and with helping her in these workshops and asking her all the questions what somebody would ask from the outside, I really want that everybody sees the gift and the wisdom and the expertise she shares. Because I believe if we all have a better communication in the world would be a much better place. So let's get started, Dawn.
It's an awesome way of describing your mindset, Dagmar, because you are all about changing the world. And I love that that is your attitude. And I think that's what makes us click so well.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being a part of this. So let me tell you a little bit about why I'm a relationship expert. I decided to become a therapist when I was in the 6th grade. So this has been a mission of mine for many, many years. And I studied family and child relationships in undergrad and then got a master's and specialist degree in marriage and family therapy from the University of Florida. And I hold a license in marriage and family therapy in the state of Florida, and have pretty much made it my mission to learn how to create successful relationships in life. This particular blab is about intimate relationships in marriage, but certainly everywhere we go and everyone we interact with, we have some level of relationship with, and it is my goal and my highest good to really create positive relationships wherever I go and to have positive interactions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's an interesting topic, and I know you and I, we discussed a little bit, should we name it relationships or should we name it marriage? And we decided on marriage because just more people are exploring the issue or questioning themselves in a marriage more than in perhaps other relationships. I think marriage, just from the old times, marriage is more a commitment than when you live in a relationship together, but you don't sign the papers. I guess that's the difference. But it's really, and I liked what you said, you want to speak about relationships and being in a marriage and what makes a marriage solid, because it all starts with us, right? We need to be in a relationship with ourselves first, and then need to be committed in a marriage, need to be committed in any relationship we do.
So that's the perfect segue. The first of our 7 signs of what makes a solid marriage or relationship is commitment. And what I have found in my practice working with couples and in my own life is that a lot of people get married and they don't necessarily consciously realize they're doing it, but they rely on the marriage, the institution of marriage, or the legal document, or the idea that they're bound together by marriage to do the work for them, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. So the first sign of a solid marriage or intimate relationship is commitment. And that doesn't mean that you've just taken that leap to commit to being with a person by marrying them. It means understanding what commitment really requires in order to stay connected to someone.
Explain it, what really commitment is, because I think now it's so confusing sometimes, because you hear it from the government, you hear it from your employer, you hear it from so many different perspectives. So what is a commitment you want to have in a relationship?
So everything I say is with the caveat that if you're ever in danger in a relationship, that I'm not saying that this is exclusively stay no matter what. If you're in danger in a relationship, get yourself safe into a safe place and take care of yourself. But safety aside, commitment in a relationship means understanding that when we're in love and it's early in the relationship, it's easy to be committed, connected, attached to someone, But as life goes on, we really have to work at maintaining that commitment and knowing and being okay with the fact that there are going to be things that we can't predict that are going to come up in our relationships. Oftentimes some of the things that I see cause difficulty with commitment is if someone's belief system changes, or their values change, or when family systems change, like when a child is born, or if a child dies, God forbid, or for that demographic of people where now their parents are aging and elderly and their parents are passing away. When hard things happen in life, if we don't remain committed to each other, and that means prioritizing the relationship and the coupleness, then ultimately the relationship typically becomes damaged.
Damaged in which way?
When we don't prioritize that commitment, then our partner typically feels not important, not worthy, not valid. They start to develop resentments. That's, when we carry that all the way down the road, that's typically how affairs begin, when people start checking out because of resentment, not feeling prioritized, not feeling worthy. So, in this end of the spectrum, we might start to argue about, why am I not enough? Why do you not show me that you love me or are committed to me? And on the far end of the spectrum, we might have damage such as an affair or threatening divorce. And those are things that are very, very difficult to recover from, although they can be recovered and healed. But the idea is to get help and support before it goes that far.
So at the end, what you just said, commitment has a lot to do with honest communication.
Honest communication, which is the next sign of a solid relationship or a healthy marriage. Honest communication is really foundational to a relationship. So when I'm talking about honest communication, I'm not just talking about being able to share where you were and what you've done. I'm talking about the things that terrify you to say to your partner, and we all have them. Whether it's about some of the most popular things. Let me see if I can give you some real life examples.
Yeah, please.
Some of the most popular things that I hear couples have a difficult time sharing with each other are when they do feel attracted to someone else, or they're struggling to stay committed or invested in the relationship. Couples typically describe that it's really, really hard to have a voice in their relationship when they're constantly criticized. So they learn to just withhold information because they don't want the criticism, or they don't want an argument or conflict. So if you find yourself avoiding sharing things that make you vulnerable because you don't like conflict, that is a form of withholding or dishonesty that damages the relationship ultimately. It blocks intimacy. Creates that wall. So other things that are hard for couples to share are things related to sex. That's always one of the most difficult things to be vulnerable and honest about. It can be as simple as what I like or don't like in the bedroom, or that there's something that I'm feeling not good about, like my body or my performance or my sex drive. So those really vulnerable things. Sometimes it can be getting laid off, or for parents, a lot of times it can be a mistake they feel like they've made as a parent, not wanting, their partner to see them as doing something wrong or that could have hurt one of the kids. So, those things that make it challenging to be vulnerable. That level of honesty is really what's required to maintain an intimate connection.
Mm-hmm. So is it sometimes, I can hear myself. So is it sometimes when you just speak about honesty, right, that not being honest can build up and then suddenly create something like it's seen you have secrets?
Yes. Yes. Because when you have, let's say you've had an attraction to somebody else in the workplace, or that you've met online, or an old flame, and you just find yourself, texting or Facebooking them or flirting with them, and you're not being honest with your partner about whatever it is that's going on in the relationship that's driving you towards that behavior, then it does become a secret. Then it does become something that, oh no, if I share this, there's going to be a consequence that I'm not okay with, like damaging the relationship. But I typically am known to say that whatever happens in the dark ultimately comes to the light. And that is the truth in relationships, that as much as we want to pretend like consequences won't catch up with us or that we'll deal with them later, we need to deal with them. Right. And the sooner we can deal with them, the better.
Right. You know what? Just one more thing to honesty, because I just remember that the interesting thing is you're not honest to your partner, but you tell everybody else. You tell your mom, you tell your girlfriends about what you really think about this. So the risk is high that it just comes back to your partner because it slips when your girlfriend says something or when your mom says something or they make a comment, right? So at the end, by not saying what you really think, but by still telling others about it, it's a dishonesty if you consciously or subconsciously holding something back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something to clarify with your partner because, you know, we all have different ideas about what's appropriate in terms of boundaries in our relationship with communication. So, you know, how does my partner feel about me talking openly with family or friends or a therapist? Because some people are very, very, very private. And if that's something you're not willing to be honest with your partner, like, well, my friends are important to me and I need to be able to express and share, but my partner doesn't like it, am I likely to hide the fact from my partner that I'm talking to my friends or to my family? Right. So it's really important to clarify the boundaries.
Right. And it's also, the other thing is, could be embarrassment, right? Because especially perhaps for men, how does a man feel about if you tell your girlfriends you feel attracted to somebody else? How does it feel in his self-esteem as being the man?
Shame. So. Yeah. And shame is one of the biggest reasons that dishonesty plays out in a relationship. And shame is that feeling of there's something wrong with me, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. So a lot of us have a hard time getting connected with that feeling of shame, especially for people who have really developed the skill set of confidence and showing the world a brave face. And for men especially, that's socially kind of expected to be strong, to be the provider, to be tough. And really what it requires in a relationship, to be honest, is to be able to acknowledge your shame for men and for women. Yeah. And that's something that needs to be learned.
Yeah, absolutely. What's our third sign?
So the third sign of a healthy marriage or relationship is similar goals and values. And let me explain what I really mean by that. So very often when I have a couple that I'm working with, I ask them to define or identify what are their top goals or values individually. And they'll share with me what they view their top values are. And then I ask them to share more about where do you spend the majority of your time, your thoughts, your money. And when you compare their values to where they spend the majority of their thoughts, time, and money, they often don't match.
Interesting.
And so what I've learned is that we idealize a certain set of values, like we even maybe lie to ourselves about what our values are. We want them to be love, respect, honesty, family, courage, work ethic is a popular one, success, and those kinds of things. But then when we look at where we spend our time, our thoughts, and our money, I tend to find a lot of workaholism. So not just work ethic, but like overdoing it, an imbalance. I tend to find a lot of image-related values, meaning appearance. So that can be our bodies, or what car we drive, or our house, or needing to redo something or buy something new. And so then I really help couples take a look at well, are these the values that you really want to continue to embrace, or would you like to shift it to a value system that really shores up a strong, healthy relationship? And then we start to look at, okay, can we come to an agreement about what your shared goals and values are? And that's where sometimes it can get tricky. Because if one person, really wants to value career, well, another person really wants to value travel, sometimes you have to find solutions for how you can be traveling down a path together. And that doesn't mean they have to be identical, but can we find ways to collaborate in goals and values and be at least in an area of similarity? Because if we're totally going in different directions, it makes it very challenging to have a partnership or to collaborate, to be in agreement on how to problem solve, how to raise our children, on what to do this weekend. Yeah. So from the little things to the big things, clarifying individually our own personal goals and then collaboratively as a couple, our goals and values.
I think what you just said, this is like everything before, commitment, honesty, we all know, right? And that's really nothing new, right? Because like since the last 100, 200 years, 300, 400 years, it was always commitment and honesty. But what you just said, the same values and goals now in our times, where the world is ours, right? So there are no borders with the internet. And there are so many things where before 200 years ago or 100 years ago, you worked, you ate, and slept, you worked, you ate and slept. So you really didn't have the variety. You didn't have the freedom to travel. You really didn't have anything else. Right? So it was all your family and your work. And I think now, like your political opinion, how you see the environment, global warming, women's rights, like everything. Do you mean? Like
yes, and let me expand even further. So in my work as a therapist, because I take a holistic view of us as individual people and then as a couple or family system. Mm-hmm. That's what really drew me to being a marriage and family therapist, is I look at an entire system. So that means understanding the entire person. So we're not just physical beings, we're not just thinking beings, but we're also sensing and emotional beings and spiritual beings. Right. And not everybody necessarily agrees with all of that, but the science is pretty profound at this point that says that to really address our whole being, we have to embrace all of those parts of ourselves. Absolutely. If one of them is cut off, then we're out of balance and it's likely to lead to unhealthiness. And if I'm unhealthy personally, then what I'm bringing to my relationship is going to be probably not full health. So when we talk about goals and values, yes, it's not just, a religion or political views or how many kids we want to have, although those things are very, very important. It's, do you both embrace having some emotional awareness? Do you both embrace some sort of spiritual understanding? And I'm not talking about religion, but things like hope, faith, love, peace, whatever those spiritual values are for you. Do you value physical health? Does that include how you eat and how you take care of your body, how you keep your home, clean? These are all things that they turn into huge arguments about how one partner or the other takes care of their health, housekeeping.
Oh, absolutely.
They're little things, but they really are born out of the fact that we are holistic beings that have the need to, in order to be healthy and functioning, to address all of the dimensions of ourselves, not just.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's especially living in the United States, right? You have the different cultures. Like I have still my German culture. My husband has the Cuban culture and has the American culture, which then comes in how you were raised in your childhood and all these things like, and I know you're ready for the fourth sign. So without a question, sometimes it can, like a little thing can be such a huge discussion point, and then everything what wasn't said before about this cultural view now suddenly comes up, and then it's interesting how one little thing can become such a big earthquake sometimes.
Well, and that typically happens, just to expand on that, that typically happens because there was something early on in the relationship that we chose to ignore or would go away or change. And that's not helpful.
Right.
If there's something that we're having trouble connecting with our partner about early in the relationship, we need to find a solution to it. And the solution doesn't have to be change. Sometimes it can be change, expanding our view on something. But typically the solution is either working on it or accepting that this is how my partner is and I'm going to love them for who they are. And I'm kind of skipping down on my list, but acceptance is one of the most important things we can have in a relationship, because a lot of times we are in denial, or we're avoiding, or we're manipulating to change something about our partner that doesn't work for us or that we don't like. And that happens, I'm going to go back to being whole beings, that happens because something about our partner triggers the feeling of shame in us. If you don't believe what I believe, if you don't think how I think, if you don't want what I want, then that means I'm wrong. And that's not really true. But that's typically how we are trained to think.
Yeah.
That someone has to be right, someone has to be wrong.
Winner, loser. Yeah, I can hear that.
And that type of black and white thinking leads to increased shame, decreased acceptance. So we want to increase the acceptance and reduce the shame, which means that if we're practicing acceptance with our partner, meaning that we're articulating to them that we love and appreciate them for who they are, as they are, and really being able to articulate that. What is it that you love about your partner? And do you share that with them?
Say it.
And not trying to subtly or covertly change or manipulate them. We avoid those huge blowouts that come down later on down the road because we've been avoiding something.
Absolutely.
So practicing acceptance means that your partner feels worthy, loved, because that acceptance is emanating from you, that you like them the way they are, not the way you wish they were.
And then that's before we get to your next point, I think that's a big one. Not trying to change the partner to how you want your partner to be, but to allow him to be how he is and love him for that.
And that is going back to the having similar goals and values. It can be really, really helpful when a couple is working together, especially in couples counseling with me, or just working together in general to improve their relationship. It can be really important to together identify personal development and growth as a shared goal and value. Because as long as we prioritize personal development and growth, then we're likely going to be working on these types of things like emotional well-being, honesty, acceptance. We're going to be willing to change those things about ourselves that maybe historically were rigid or weren't helpful in our relationship. So if you could prioritize personal development, you're more likely to be able to identify when you've hurt your partner, take responsibility for that, have acceptance for them, show your love and appreciation if you're growing together through your hardships.
Absolutely. What's our next sign?
Okay, so our next sign of a solid or healthy marriage is a history of successful problem solving. So problem solving requires a lot of these signs that we've already discussed. It requires communication. It requires honesty. It requires patience. It really requires active, engaged listening to your partner. A lot of times because we're wanting to be right and not wrong, we don't practice engaged listening because we're needing to convince our partner that our way of solving the problem is the right way. So practicing problem solving in a way where we're actively listening to our partner's opinion and idea and considering the value in what they have to say, staying curious about how our partner thinks and feels and what they believe would be helpful in solving a problem. As soon as we decide that one or the other has to be right or wrong, we're not going to be problem solving together anymore. And what I find so often in relationships when they come to me for help is that they accuse one or the other of, well, you agreed to do this, you agreed to that, and then you didn't follow through. Well, we often say this idea that you agreed to it, but sometimes in relationships, people say yes when they really mean no. So to problem solve with each other, you can't say yes when you mean no. A true agreement means you've actually found value in each other's solutions and collaboratively work together to build one and then carry it out, and not made a false agreement. False agreements are a quick path to causing damage in a relationship and to not feeling successful at solving problems together.
This, in my experience, what you just said, if you say yes to something you really wanted to say no to, you will hold on to that, and you will not only regret it, but you make your partner responsible for that you said yes to something where you really want to say no. So it will build up over time, and then at one point you're just miserable and you just explode and your partner has no clue why, and it's really you wanted to please your partner, so you gave up parts of you to make him happier, but it doesn't make you happy.
Yes. So you just said something that's really important that takes us to our next point, which is the last one we're going to have time for, giving up parts of yourself. Mm-hmm. A sign of a solid relationship is that each member has their own identity. Yes. And so that means that I can articulate what I think, how I feel, and what I believe.
Yep.
Separate from my partner's identity, and I can have my own set of friends, hobbies, things that I enjoy doing that I can go do without constantly feeling obsessed with my partner in the background, and maintaining the boundaries of my own identity. Because if I lose everything to my partner, or for parents to my children, or if I lose my identity from my job, those are the three most common things are mm-hmm. children, job, partner. I no longer am clear about who I am, what my purpose is, and how I feel. And so then I often get restless and agitated, and that ends up showing up in my marriage or my relationship. And so that's where I always encourage people, have your own identity and really maintain the boundaries of that. But a lot of times people enter a marriage and they never really were clear about their identity. So you have to do that work to develop really what your sense of self is, so that you can have a healthy identity within your marriage.
Absolutely. And I know we're at the end of the show, but what you just said, I have many friends who are Mother Teresa's, who are helpers, who feed themselves by doing everything for others and makes them happy. And at the end, it's because they are empty inside, and that's how they fill the bucket. And I think having this in a marriage, and your partner doesn't give you this feeling that you can help them or you can give up yourself to make them happy. So you're looking automatically for your work or for your kids. And that, I think, brings a huge imbalance in a relationship too. Absolutely. If you have this need.
Yes, each individual has to know how to find internal happiness. Yes. If you rely on your partner or your kids or your job or your car to give it to you, all of those things are going to let you down one day. Yeah. You know, your kids are going to grow up, your car is going to get a dent or a scratch, your partner is going to end up doing something to piss you off, and you're going to feel very, very alone. And so it is so important to be able to find that intrinsic happiness and self-worth, so that when we fall on the hard times, when we go to the depths, we can still know at our core that we're going to be okay. And then there's not so much panic and franticness. It's easier for all of these other signs that we talked about to keep them in check, because in my core, I know I'm going to be okay, and I have that identity and that sense of worthiness that I'm bringing to the relationship. Two whole people make one relationship. You can't have a half person and half person make a whole relationship. A half person and a half person.
I will treat that.
It takes two people.
I'm sorry. Oh, did you see her calling in? I didn't see her calling in.
No. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry too. I saw her, but I saw her leaving. I didn't see
Oh,
her
we can't
coming
grab
in.
her?
Hmm?
We can't grab her?
I
No.
Miss Danica, if you're still with us, please call in and ask your question. I don't see you live, so perhaps you're still with us then. But yeah, I'm so sorry. I just did not see your text there. We're still focused on Dawn. And so yeah, I know, Dawn, we're at the end of the show. And just share, please, at the end, how can our listeners reach you? And I know you wrote a blog post exactly about the 7 signs
Yes,
of a solid marriage.
you can find a blog post that is this exact topic on my website, which is www.dawnwigginstherapy.com. And you'll find this topic there, my blog. I would love your comments. I would love you to read it and share what you think, and see where you are in your own marriage or relationship. And if you would like to know more or to talk further, please call me or send me an email. And I'm so grateful to everyone who joined us today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about what I'm so passionate about. Like I said, I wanted to be a therapist since the 6th grade, so I'm living my dream right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody who's listening to recording, oh, there she is. I see her back. Everybody who's listening to the recording too, then yeah, please connect with Dawn directly. Dawn, you have a complimentary session too. No, on the house
On the
site,
house
right?
if you're interested in therapy but you've never tried it, okay, here we have someone calling in.
Okay, let me allow it. Okay. Mm-hmm.
You had the nerve to say, "Oh, me and my husband, we did that. That's our butt workout." Like, bitch, who needs to know you and your daddy been bumping ugly? See how fucked up that Sam?
Miss Danica,
relax, bitch. Just please, can you do it for me?
Are you with us?
So you talk about being submissive. Dr. Jackie's like, you know, I give my husband the utmost respect. You know, that's a big thing. But as far as me sitting at home and doing this, no, that's not who I am. And the same way with Dr. Simone, like, well, shit, you know, the food is good, but bitch, again, let us jog your memory and honey, get you together, Dr. Heavenly, bitch. You know that you're not on call for pulling teeth, bitch. I just need to tell you that because
I'm sorry. I think, Miss Danica, I'm not sure if you called in were in your right plug. It didn't sound like that. So just reach out. Yeah, reach out to Dawn. I could not clearly understand what your question were. So I'm sorry. It sounded like you were in another club and you spoke with somebody else. It didn't sound like you were with us.
But if you have a question for me, or if anybody else has a question for me, or if you're curious about therapy, I do offer a free 30-minute consult on the house so that you can explore what therapy could do for you. And I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Dawn. And for everybody else, we will have that with Dawn every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm so excited because I believe if we all want a better world, we need to create better relationships. That's really what it is. And Dawn is not only my expert in that, but she's also walked the walk and talked the talk. She really does it. And that's why I'm excited, why I'm here and supporting her. And I only can recommend to you, if you want a change and you need help, Dawn is your woman to do that.
Thank you, Dagmar.
You are welcome.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.